Joining me now, former police officer and author of the book Beaten Black and Blue, Brandon Tatum. Brandon, I bet you didn't know Kamala Harris, she wakes up every morning crying about the people of Haiti. Her heart goes out to them.
Kamala Harris don't give a flying flip about anybody, especially people in Haiti. She could care less. And this tells you how much she couldn't care less when she didn't even take the time to research that these Border Patrol agents on horseback are not using whips. It makes no sense. It's not a tactic. And also, if you know anything about horses, you know anything about riding horses, these are reins. And it appears that they have split reins, which could look like a whip, but it's not utilized that way. And everybody knows that it's not. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist. It just takes someone who actually cares about the subject matter, who wants to get to the bottom of this, to actually do a little research. Ask anybody that ride horses. All I did was did a little bit of research to figure out, well, how does the reins work and how does it appear that it looks like a whip? And very clearly, people are all over the internet that ride horses, explaining this. So it's clear she does not really care.
She doesn't really care, and she's supposed to be in charge of the border, and the border's a disaster. Do you think in the public's eye this is landing on her, or do you think she has effectively washed her hands of this bad boy?
Well, her personally, she haven't taken responsibility for anything at the border. This is the worst the border has been, at least in the last 8 years. I mean, we have Haitian people by the thousands setting up tents underneath, bridges in Texas. And the thing about it is that these people are not being tested for COVID. These people, they're living in an inhumane environment. They're having to be, kind of riled and corralled and all of these different things that I think is not appropriate, but they should not be there. And if our government, Kamala Harris, should be taking the lead on this, if we will tell people our border is closed, they would not make the trek here. They would not pay coyotes to come into our country. But we are giving them the impression that it's wide open. If you can make it here, you in. And this is not the appropriate measure for a person who's in political office that claim or has the responsibility of something like the border. This is a clear failure on Kamala Harris's part.
You're a former police officer. Could you please elaborate on what morale would be like when you're out there putting it on the line and you simply don't feel like anybody has your back?
Well, I mean, this is like if you were a security guard at Disney World and they took away all the metal detectors and they just let everybody bombard and run straight through with no accountability. And then if something happens on the back end, they blame you. This is exactly what's happening at the border with the Border Patrol. They are doing all that they can. Do you think they want to get on horseback and chase people around? Do you think they don't have fears? Do you think that there's not, a fear of getting sick, fear of getting killed, fear of being overrun, the fear of trying to combat against terrorism and people coming into our southern border? All of that exists. Same thing with policing. And when you have them bashing you when they know better, saying that you're whipping people, majority of our Border Patrol are Hispanic, claiming that this is a racial bias that is occurring. I mean, it really hurts when these are the people that have cut your check and these are the people that supposedly are going to support you. And when you don't have enough, Border Patrol agents out there and you're just being overrun, it can really hurt morale. And they're doing all that they can to demonize these men and women who are down there serving with their entire life while Kamala Harris is flipping coins at a football game and, sitting somewhere in VIP.
Brandon, I'm worried about something, and I think it's come to fruition when you look at the retirement rates in cities like New York City. I'm worried about the warriors who protect our society deciding it's not worth it anymore. And I'm talking about military. There's a story about SEALs getting out. I'm worried about good cops. Look, cops are talented people, especially the good ones. They got options. You don't have to be a cop. I'm worried about Border Patrol agents. I'm worried about the warriors in society waking up in the morning and saying, you know what? Forget this, man. I'm going to go start a business. I'm going to go do something else because I'm done with this. No one appreciates me anyway.
Well, you know what? I hate to say this, and I thought I'd never say this at this point, but they have a point. Is it worth it? Is it worth you spending 30 years somewhere and then because you don't get the vaccination shot, somehow you lose your entire career? Is it worth it that if you go out as a police officer and you shoot a person justifiably, but because that person is black and you're white, somehow you lose all that you've worked for? You're in the military and you served and protected this country with your own life, watching your brothers and sisters die overseas, doing in training, putting it on the line, and they want to get rid of you because you don't want to get vaccinated. I mean, Is it worth it at the end of the day? For some people, it's not. But I would encourage the people, the men and women who are still in the fight, that understand that this is a calling. It's going to take brave men and women to still answer the call, in spite of all the things that are going on. And I wish that, I could convey this message of blocking out all of the distractions and focusing on the calling that God has called in your life. And we need people to continue to stay in the fight, because without that, we don't have a country. We don't have cities. We don't have, any protection. So I want to thank them and also encourage them that if it's a calling on your life, stick with the call.
Hey, thanks so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and like and subscribe. You heard me. Like it, subscribe. You'll get a lot more of it and a lot more of me.